importance of doing research in the Arctic is that this is the canary in the mine, and the changes which are going to occur in all of the Earth are changing much, much, much faster in the Arctic.
On July 13th, I flew up to Longyearbyen, Svalbard, and met with Professor Yngve Kristoffersen and his student Gaute Hope, who are in the midst of their final preparations for a scientific expedition up into the highest and most inaccessible parts of the Arctic Ocean with our hovercraft Sababa.
It exists!
Gaute! You ready to be a movie star?
Yngve Kristoffersen has spent more than 1 year aboard the hovercraft thus far, and he has been on it every single time it's been out. And this is because I think he feels personally responsible to make sure that he has it for enough years so that we can accomplish what we're trying to accomplish. This summer is going to be the time when we've finally shown that beyond making, I think, like 18 successful dredges thus far. Okay, now we're going to have cores and a few more seismic profiles across the Lomonosov Ridge. This is a big jump forward.
Our program for the next 2 months is to take it further up and actually get onto the Gackel Ridge. This is the spreading ridge now, which has been opening up for the last 50 million years or so. And then to travel out and go up to the area of the Lomonosov Ridge here, which was originally rifted off from the Barents Sea margin.
Take a look inside.
Oh yeah, I see a woman's touch.
Oh, delicious!
We had this problem with that the ovens went out because of under pressure.
Yeah, when you're operating. So what do you mean?
So we had to drive when we were going in transit. We didn't have any heat. It was cold as hell. John and I went to Colombia at the same place, but at different times. He had left by the time I went. I was familiar with his work and familiar with the data they had collected. It turns out that when John finished his thesis, they collected data for several years and nobody had looked at the data. Everywhere else it was a quiet, you could see there was quiet depositional environment. But in that area where John had collected the data and the years after the T3, it was a total mess. So I got the idea that this has to be an extraterrestrial impact.
He said there were some exciting things, and it was only when we were going out to his car in the parking lot that he whispered over to me, "It's an asteroid." Question was how to get back out there.
Or my kids came over and we had an Easter vacation, so we drove down to Los Angeles among other things, and the family wanted to go to the Universal Studios, and that was not my interest at all. Anyway, at the Universal Studios there was this Miami Vice thing, and I wasn't too enthused about it, but they dragged me in there. And sitting there watching this thing, all of a sudden a small hovercraft comes roaring in, and that sort of caught my attention, because here I saw this is a way to move over the ice in the summer time, because you can't, it's very difficult with skidoos because there are meltwater puddles on the ice, so for safety reasons.
Yngve told me about a project that he had worked on earlier where they actually had gotten some money from a shipping company in Norway to rent a small hovercraft, which they then took up and tried operating on the ice, and it was quite apparent that the hovercraft was too small. He knew of a company in England that was making hovercrafts, and that it might be very interesting to equip one of these to go over the ice and act as a drifting ice station that has mobility.
And here's the punchline. John looked at me and he said, "Let's buy one." Gaute was out with me last year, yes. And I think he's still with us, so it must not have frightened him totally.
It's very exciting, at least, but I feel very safe because we're up on the ice floes, so we're much less exposed than other boats.
Same thing. We both have this, that when you get up in the morning and have breakfast and all that, keep your mouth shut. And you need some peace and quiet. The first basic thing, at least for me, is that the person is interested in what he's doing, that it's not here just to kill time, and also that he's good at what he's doing.
I built 5 buoys that will be in a network on the ice, and each buoy has a hydrophone which we drop through the ice, and will be hanging right under the ice, and it will listen for micro earthquakes. We have many exciting targets, and it's just like you go on a it's just keeps you alert all the time.
To our great surprise, we discovered that the freighter Norbjorn, which was going to carry the hovercraft as deck cargo up to the ice edge, had arrived one day early. A meeting with the captain indicated that he would be leaving that evening, and so we had just one day to rush around, putting ourselves in high gear in order to get the last food items and the last supplies out of the storerooms that we had in Longyearbyen.
Okay, John. Yeah,
Scream bloody murder if you need some prayer from the Holy City. Okay, you better crank it up and get the hell out of here.
You want to get rid of us so fast?
Nobody's going to leave.
No, he's not going to leave. I told him we'll be there at 9:30. So we'll warm up the engine, yes.
Let's see if the engine works.
Gee! You know, on a trip like this, people say, "Oh, there's lots of risks involved." I said, "Sure, there's risks, and there are nasty, semi-nasty things that will happen. But I expect that. But I also expect that we can get out of it. That we know enough that we can fix it and get out of it. And so I'm not afraid. In the course of a day, we get stuck, run up on something several times, and." So what do you do then? You know, oh, we're stuck. Well, you make yourself a cup of coffee, and then you go out and work on the problem. So it's not worse than that in terms of safety. To me, the ice is a safe place.
Well, finally it seems to be on the dock and nothing is broken, and hoping for the best.
After their departure, they proceeded north and encountered very heavy stretches of multi-year ice. The Arctic in summer has a perpetual fog, and every single time visibility closed down to nothing, then they were required to sit and wait until they had visibility. The situation now in the first week of August is that there was a total failure of the alternator in the engine, which was supplying power to both the starter and the scientific battery bank. Net result has been that there are new parts that are on their way with the icebreaker Odin, which is going to rendezvous with them. But in the meantime, a full power alternator has been found and will be delivered today, Friday the 3rd of August, by a Norwegian 333 Squadron Orion aircraft. And day by day they have been recording earthquakes as part of Gaute Hope's master's thesis over the Gackel Ridge, the spreading ridge in the northern part of the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. This morning I received an email from the hovercraft with the FRAM 2012 report for 03 August, that's yesterday. It reads as follows. Position 8426 north, 1330 east. That's this point right here. At about 1150 hours, the Orion plane came out of the fog at 50 meters altitude and delivered the 2 alternators less than 200 meters from the hovercraft. A superb job. Odin arrived at 1330 hours. We refueled 2,000 liters of diesel, got a shower, were generously treated with dinner, and had a short discussion about the way ahead. Odin and the hovercraft departed at 1930 hours. Odin moves more steadily and generally faster than the hovercraft, and the next rendezvous point is 160 nautical miles ahead. In other words, about this point here, on the way to their final target. They end up with all is well, Yngve and Gaute. Absolutely a superb job, and bravo.